2 of our new podcast called Odd Sports Topics that goes over our guests that we have on, as well as some topics we cover in oddsportstopics.com. I'm here with P.J. Ellis, as always. P.J., how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm excited for episode 2. We got some good feedback on episode 1. So we're excited to get rolling on episode 2. We got our first ever guest day, which is going to be super exciting. So, yeah.
Yeah, PJ. Today we have our first ever guest on our podcast, Adele Linderman, who both of us know from the St. Louis Cardinals. Her role with the St. Louis Cardinals right now is the group sales account executive. So, a couple steps above us, obviously, more experience. She has also worked with the River City Rascals, and she has played college softball at Lindenwood University, your alma mater as well.
Yes, sir.
And she was drafted professionally in a professional softball league. So we're looking forward to talking about that with her. Peter, you want to talk a little bit of our socials before we get into the interview with Adele?
Yeah, first off, Adele's great. We've known her for a couple years now. She's fantastic. She's going to have some great insight on working in professional sports and then also playing. Like Michael said, she played softball in college at my alma mater, Lindenwood University, and then was drafted. So that'll be really interesting to get her insight on that whole process of getting drafted to play professional softball. But yeah, guys, as always, thank you for your continued support. We got really good feedback, like I said, on episode 1. We're looking forward to moving forward with this episode 2 and so on with our guest. But as always, follow our social medias at Odd Sports Topics on Twitter and Odd Sports Topics on Facebook. And then obviously www.oddsportstopics.com is where our blog resides. And we'll also have our podcast on top of there. So on our website now. So if you go on our website, we have a tab for our podcast. You can click that and watch episode 1. And that's where all of our episodes we posted now. But yeah, as we're excited to get into it. So here's our interview with Adele.
We now welcome on our first ever guest to Odd Sports Topics podcast in episode number 2. It's the group sales account executive from the St. Louis Cardinals, Adele Linderman, a good friend of Peter and I. Adele, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks so much, Michael and Peter, for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
To have you on the show. Me and Michael got the chance to know Adele when we were working with her at the St. Louis Cardinals. Me and Michael were part-time, and Adele was there, and she helped us kind of show us the ropes a little bit on our first couple of weeks. And ever since then, we've been pretty close with Adele. She's been awesome at helping us through every step of the way we've needed through anything. So we're really excited to have her on the podcast, and she'll bring great professionality to it. She's had a really good professional career so far, and we're excited to see what she has to say.
Thank you.
Couldn't be more excited to have you as our first guest. So thanks for being here.
I was so honored when you guys asked me. I was pumped.
So Adele, what was it like working for the River City Rascals and now for the St. Louis Cardinals in professional baseball?
Sure. So kind of got my interest from just playing softball my whole life in sports and everything, and just kind of got drawn to the game. Started the internship with the River City Rascals. I know a lot of people start at the minor leagues, so that was really fun to kind of get my feet wet, join in the River City Rascals, kind of literally do a little bit of everything in there, from dancing on the dugout to, throwing hot dogs off of, the top of our concession stand, like literally just anything. Started with there, and then that led me to my internship with the Cardinals, which then led to part-time position, which then led to my full-time position once I graduated college. And I've been really lucky to move up in the organization into my current role as a group sales account executive. So it's been a fun ride so far. Looking forward to it continuing on.
You brought up the hot dog thing real quick. I took a sports law class a year ago, and there was actually a case about this guy threw an aluminum wrapper into a crowd, and he scratched a guy's eye, and there was this big lawsuit. Did you have any controversial throwing of hot dogs?
So in my sport law class, we actually talked about that exact same case. So I know exactly what you're talking about, which is hilarious. But fortunately, I guess I have pretty good aim from softball. So I was always throwing it at people who were looking at me with their hands up. So fortunately, I did not hit anybody in the eye or have to deal with that. But I was chucking hot dogs from the top. And we had to wear this god-awful hot dog suit while we did it. And it was probably the most embarrassing thing that I've ever done. But it was fun.
So real quick, me and Adele, fun fact, we went to the same university. So shout out Lindenwood University in St. Charles. But So I just wanted to ask you briefly, who was your sport law professor? I just want to see if you had the same one.
I had Molly Hudgens, and I love her to death. Like, I love
Yeah,
her.
she's the
She's my
best.
advisor. She kept me on through my master's because she loved me so much, and I loved her. So she's great. Love her.
She's the absolute best. She didn't teach it by the time I got around to taking it, unfortunately, but she was my advisor all 4 years. So yeah, shout out Molly
Yes,
Hudgens. She's the greatest.
she's so good, and she was such a good sport law person. It almost made me want to like switch over to like that and like go like law, but I was like, it's a little too much for me because like business law
That's a
was
little
like
bit too much. Yeah.
so. But yeah,
Yeah,
she's
that's sketchy. It's definitely sketchy.
yeah. Shout
Yeah.
out to Molly.
Shout out Molly if you're watching this.
All right, let's actually stick at Lindenwood University then, since we brought it up. Yeah, okay, repping right there. Adele, for those of you at home,
Had to.
not only does she work in baseball and with the St. Louis Cardinals right now, but in college she was actually a pretty good softball player for Lindenwood University. And Adele, since we are named Odd Sports Topics, what kind of odd things in softball did you occur either during your high school playing days, college playing days?
Sure. So, Michael, one of the craziest days was actually when we were playing Fort Hays University. It was my junior year. So, a while back now, I guess, but whatever. So, we were at Fort Hays, and it was the coldest, most just brutal day of softball, windiest, craziest day ever. And the first game we played, we actually went into extra innings. So, the first game was just crazy long. Generally, a game is under 2 hours. That game was over 3. So we were already getting late into the night. It was pushed back, dark. Then we decided, we always play doubleheader generally. So we start our next game. I kid you not, our next game, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, our final score ended up being 29-21. We lost, and we ended up getting short gamed 29-21 after the 5th inning because we were down by 8 runs. But we got short game, but we also set the record for the most hits in a single game in a Division II game. So in a Division II softball game, Lindenwood set the most hits, but it's hit by a single team in that game, but we also got short gamed. So crazy day. It's the most craziest experience I've been a part of, which it's pretty hard to just first set the record for the most hits in a single game, but let alone doing it while you get short gamed. I don't know how we did that. I guess the other team had we had a lot more errors than them, but crazy day. So that's pretty much the weirdest thing that's happened.
That's absolutely crazy. I've never heard anything like that before. I'd be interested to see what the highest scoring combined run total is in a Division II softball game, because that'd have to be up there too.
Yeah, I agree. I think Shippensburg University, which is a college out in Pennsylvania, holds the record for like the most runs in a single game or something like that. Which, fun fact, the only reason I know that is because it's my dad's alma mater, and like we were like getting close to like it. So my dad ended up looking it up, and he was like, "Hey, Shippensburg holds it." But
He just had to one up you, right? He just had to one
pretty
up
much. But yeah, so I don't think. I mean, we might still hold the record, but again, it was a couple years ago now. So I'd be interested to look up and see if we do still hold that record for the most hits in a single game. But we also got a short game.
Wow. So you guys call it short game. I've always called it mercy rule. Short game sounds a little nicer,
I've heard
a little
too.
less cruel, maybe.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's necessary in college softball to have the short game mercy rule thing? Because the majors don't have it for baseball, and I don't know if college baseball does, but like I always had it growing up. But it was necessary because some of the players just were terrible. But like, is that necessary? Do you think in Division II?
I think that in a game like that, no, because we could score 10 runs in an inning.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of crazy. But like, I would say for your conference games, I don't think you should have a short game just because anything can happen. And like, it's been proven time and time again in this sport. And that's one of the reasons why I love baseball and softball, is because there is no time limit generally. Like, in baseball especially, there is no time limit. You're playing all 9 innings. Like, that's one of the things I love about it. But I think in softball, like in college, I feel like you could easily get away with it and not doing it necessarily in your specific conference, because conference play, you're going and you're competing and then you're trying to make it to the conference tournament. But outside of conference, sometimes you kind of play not so great teams that, you're like, oh my gosh, when is it going to be the 5th inning? We're up by 18 type of thing. Like, so sometimes, non-conference, you're going to play teams that aren't as good, and then vice versa. So I think outside of conference, it's used more often than not. So. That'd be my opinion on it.
Does the number 59 mean anything to you, Adele?
Should it?
I don't know. Does it? I think it should, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe you're too cool for that. I don't know.
No, I know where you're getting at, but
So I'll just go ahead and say it. So Adele, our guest here, was pick number 59 in the inaugural draft for the American Softball Association. And she was selected. Do you remember the team that selected you?
The E1 Pro Ballers.
Yep, in Mobile, Alabama.
Mobile, Alabama.
So
Yep.
at Lindenwood, did you have any like knowledge of this even like having or becoming a possibility? Were there recruiters there, or how did that come about?
Sure. So the E1 Pro Ballers, their head coach name is Jason. He's actually from the St. Louis area. So he had watched me play in high school and travel ball and then a little bit at Lindenwood. I had no idea who this man was. So like he just knew of me and like because he's from the area. So I guess he had heard of me and he goes to a bunch of softball games and knows a bunch of people. So he had just known that who I was and followed me, I guess. So he ended up reaching out to my Lindenwood softball coach towards the end of my senior season and asked my coach if she thought I would be interested in going pro. And anybody who knows me knows that softball is it's a huge part of me. It's what I love. I love the game so much. And so like when she came up and like asked me and like was like, hey, I've got this guy Jason doesn't want to seem creepy and just be like, haha, I have a deal for you. So that's why he went through my coach because I didn't necessarily know him. And I probably would have thought it was like a spam if like he just emailed me. So went through my coach and she was like, I have an opportunity for you to play post senior season. And to me, that was just like, at that time was like the biggest light for me. And so I was so excited and like, thought about it for like 2 seconds and said yes, like, had to figure it out with work. So like logistically had to, think about it more, but like my heart was just immediately like super excited for it. So definitely something that, I'm proud to say I was drafted and that's pretty cool, but yeah.
So how, I know you just talked about you love softball very much. So how hard of that was a decision to decide not to pursue that and pursue it instead of career in professional sports, on the business side?
Kind of was hard for me at that point because then reality kind of set in and, it was kind of, do I go pro? Like I got drafted. So, was drafted and I was still really hesitant and torn between going pro and not going pro and going with my career in the Cardinals organization. And they picked me 59th. It was basically the first round of like your subs basically. So he was like, I'll draft you in like our, to be on the team, you can come down full time. And I was really, really hesitant for that. Also another factor was like my arm was starting to like give out just from wear and tear. But so he was like, how about I just pick you first round of our, like sub list basically. And I was supposed to come down second half of season and play. And I was like, perfect. Like, let's do that. I don't have to commit full time. The Cardinals were much more willing to work with me on only being down there part-time rather than full time. Thought it was kind of best of both worlds at that time. So did that, he picked me first round of that. Super excited. I was actually at Busch Stadium when I was drafted. I don't know if either of you two were there. I can't quite remember. I was like shaking that day. So I don't know. I forget who's there, but I was actually there. I had it like on my little like phone and I was like watching it and everybody was like around me when they said my name. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, so then that kind of happened. And then I actually was planning on doing that. I got approval from the Cardinals and my coach ended up getting fired. So he ended up getting fired. Didn't really hear all the details of it because I wasn't there. A new coach ended up coming in, bringing in her own girls from her college that she had went to and kicked off some people that were there. It was kind of a whole shuffle. And basically, like, I wasn't necessarily comfortable with going down. She wasn't comfortable with me coming down. Like, I may not have even played a day in my life, and so it was just kind of a lot to wrap my head around and not necessarily know. Like, she had never seen me play. She'd never heard of me, none of that. And so it was just kind of a hard decision. And it kind of was basically like, it's best if, like, she basically told me it was probably best if I just stayed here, which almost made my decision a little bit easier. to stay here because I was already hesitant with it. So I ended up just staying here, which ended up working out great with the Cardinals. So I'm very, very thankful that ended up turning into a full-time position. And then I'm in the group sales world now, which is so fun.
So you said that you were at Busch Stadium when you got drafted. I think there's a possibility you were the first ever person in any sport to get drafted while being at a professional like sports venue, like working for a team.
Maybe.
I think
I don't know.
Or probably taking a sales call right afterwards.
Yeah, I think you
That's
just
the
run
best
with
way to
that.
do it.
Yeah, I did. I was like shaking. I was like so nervous. And like he called me like right before. He's like, all right, like I'm picking you. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. Like, I don't know. I got so excited for it. But it was so nerve wracking, even though I knew it was coming. And I was just on like the sub list. Like I wasn't even on like the main one. But it was still cool. It was still fun. It won't change the fact that I can always say I got drafted. So like that fact will never change, which is cool. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. While we're on the professional softball thing, so I personally didn't even know that there were like professional softball leagues, which is a little surprising because we do see like some college softball on TV every once in a while. And um, it's just like, why do you think that is, that there isn't this popular professional softball team? I had this conversation with one of my friends that's a college gymnast actually too. And it's the same thing for her, the gymnastics. They don't have like this professional league in the United States. Do you think that would ever be a possibility where softball could develop a popular professional league in the United States?
Say popular is like a relative term in that. Now I think it could be bigger and better. Yes. Do I ever think it will be on the level of like, MLS or like, women's soccer, no, just because we're not as popular as that. Like we just don't have the draw for it. Like more little girls are going to be running around like playing soccer and being involved in like watching soccer than watching softball. Softball is a hard sport to watch. Now, I mean, and that's coming from me. I love it. I love watching it. I love playing it. I love playing it million and one times more than I love watching it. I watched it so much because I had an older sister, 4 years older, and I watched so many softball games and I got almost like bored of it when I was little. So like I understand why people don't want to necessarily watch it and like it's hard for them to watch it. So like I understand where they're coming from, but like playing wise, like playing is just on like another level. Like I love playing it. I love being a part of it. So like, and then obviously you've got those people who are, softball fans who we do have those leagues. So like, obviously, they've got draw, you've got your family ties. I feel like if I went down, maybe you guys would watch me. So like you get like new people, like, bringing everybody. So I do think it could be more popular than it is right now, but I don't think it would ever necessarily get as popular as like, women's soccer, other sports per se. And I don't know.
So let me
it's also really
yeah.
hard on our arms. So.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. So like USA softball, it was big like back in the day. I don't know as much about it now as I did growing up, but like the Jenny Fitches of the world.
Yes.
What was her career like without like a major professional softball league other than USA softball? Do you know?
So, I mean, like I follow her on Instagram now. So I guess like I know like a little bit about her, but her whole world is softball. Like she's got 2 sons and 1 daughter and she's adorable with them. Like her little girl plays and it is just the cutest thing to watch her like coach her and like how patient she is just on like another level. And I think that's why she was so successful. And like so obviously if you know anybody in softball big, Jenny Finch. Jenny Finch is the person to know. Like she's just the role model. Every little girl's kind of biggest role model growing up is usually Jenny Finch. And I understand why now more than I did when I was little. And it's just because of the way she looks at life and the way that she looks and brings it into the game. And it's not about like your success and your failure. Like this is a sport that you're going to fail way more than you're ever going to succeed. And your worth shouldn't be on your failure or your success. It needs to be like on your drive and your passion and what you're doing. And like, as long as you're doing the little things right, like you're going to be successful. So, and you could hit this line drive smoke right at the left fielder, or you can hit a little dinky pop fly that drops in between. So it's not necessarily always about, how good of a hit you get, so sometimes the game is kind of funny and it balances itself out, I think. But I mean, it's just crazy. And she's such a good role model in everything she says. And I think her mentality is what got her so far. Yes, her skills were phenomenal, obviously, but her mentality is why she got to that extreme other level that I don't think a lot of people can necessarily get to, just on physical abilities.
See, we bring Adele on for the professional sports knowledge, but we get life advice too. She was
Yeah.
dropping some real life knowledge there.
I'm ready to run through a
She was
wall
reaching into
over
my
here.
soul. Yeah, I
Time
need
to
to,
run
go
through a
work
wall.
out or something. I'm pumped up. Pumped up.
Maybe that's
Go
why she
follow
got
Jenny
drafted.
Finch.
Maybe that was
That
why
is
you were
she
getting
got
drafted.
Maybe, I don't know.
You're the
You can see why.
inspirational. No, I'm kidding.
It's Lindenwood too. Lindenwood's, it's a powerhouse. Everybody from Lindenwood gets drafted. We breed superstars. I don't know what to tell you.
Except you, PJ. You didn't get drafted anywhere.
I didn't get drafted. That's true. I was too good. I didn't want to outdo these leagues.
Yeah. Adele, some odd things in softball that I have come across. I'm just going to run these by you. If you have any explanation, go ahead and throw them out my way. Most of them will be hypotheticals because, okay, number one, why is the ball yellow?
I think it's easier to see. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's the reasoning I read is it's easier to see, but then like baseball uses the white one with like the red stripes or whatever.
This sounds so dumb, but like when my dad would hit me like fungos, he would purposely hit me baseballs because they're harder to track and to see than a softball. So then whenever somebody would hit me a softball, I'd be like, oh, it's so big and yellow. Like, I can see it perfectly. So like, yeah, I think that's why. I don't know.
I mean, I agree. When I'm watching a baseball game, sometimes I lose the ball off the bat. Like even in the stands, sometimes I don't see it. I'll lose it in the sun sometimes. It's a fact. I do.
The ball is larger. This one is said because like the hands are usually smaller from girls than men, so it's easier to like grip the ball. Is that what you've experienced in your playing days?
Yeah, I think so. I cannot grip a baseball. Like I grip it like this. You're supposed to do it like this, but like for softball, like you grip it with like your whole hand, basically. Well, it's like in your fingertips. It's not your palm, obviously. But like you use all of your fingers and like your pinky's kind of on the side. And so for a baseball, I have trouble throwing it because I want to grip it like this instead of like this. And then if I do grip it like this, it just feels weird. So yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I've actually read a lot about that. They're like, it's so much harder for them to like transfer. But like, if I grab a softball, it's hard for me to throw that too. Like,
You grab it like this.
yeah, try to throw. Do you throw with four? You throw with your whole hand?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So your pinky is on your side. So basically, like instead of these two being on the side for like baseball, like it's just your pinky is on the side when you throw a softball.
Huh. That would have been nice to know when I was in my softball league, but oh well.
You should have came to Adele for tips. That was your mistake.
That
I'll
was
help
my
you
mistake.
with your hitting too.
I need a lot of help with my hitting. See, that's actually why I loved the double first base growing up, because I'd hit a ground ball every single time to the left side, and then I'd run to first just absolutely terrified that the guy's going to hit me because he can't throw. So like I would always like hit the right side of the right base and like be like 30 feet away from the first baseman. That was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
I mean, I guess from experience, like I've been knocked out at first from like a second baseman. Like I bunted it when I was little, and like the second baseman came across, and she's the largest second baseman I've ever seen. And like I straight up like hit the base, and then I woke up 6 feet away from the base on the ground. Just like I was like, ow. Like it was. So I mean, I guess, maybe more leagues should adopt double base, because if there's a double base, maybe I wouldn't have gotten hit and a concussion, but I don't know.
Were you safe or were you out?
I was safe.
There you go.
Yeah, but oh my gosh, yeah, that was not good.
Yeah, no, that's pretty scary actually. The last one that I had that's different than baseball is you're a right-handed hitter, right?
Yes, mostly.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so left-handed hitters, you see like a lot of slap like hits as they're running to first base, and that was like, it's like kind of odd to see at times because like you can tell they're just trying to like punch it to the opposite side and basically beat the throw. Why is that? Basically why? Just they think they'll beat the throw every single time, or
There's different types of slappers. So the most common one is the one that you're describing, which is basically you're just trying to tap the ball in play and you're trying to place it. Generally, you're going to try and place it at the shortstop because your third baseman is closer, shortstop's further away, so it gives you a little bit more time. So you're trying to place it in like the 5-6 hole, but more towards the shortstop. And you're trying to basically just beat the throw. So it's only really like super fast runners that will do that sort of slapping. There's also a power slap. So some people think that having the, like, when you move your feet, some people do it in more of like a power stance. So, and they'll get, it's almost like a Happy Gilmore kind of shot is like what I explain to people who just don't know. So like if you're ever like hitting a golf ball, you can Happy Gilmore and you think like you're going to hit it farther type of thing. Similar concept. So power slap is where you do that to where you're basically loading all of your weight and then you're shifting it forward as you hit it. And that's where you're going to see the more like line drives, hard hits to the outfield type of thing. So it also kind of mixes up your defense to where some people might not know if you're doing a soft slap or a power slap. So it can really throw them off if they think that you're only a soft slapper, and then your defense might come in and then you could just drill it right over their heads in the outfield. And then you can end up with a triple if you're still fast. So there's soft slap, power slap, two different concepts. Generally speaking, you're both going to be fast, like both sides, like you're going to be fast to take advantage of your defense at that point.
Do you see more people growing up becoming lefties in softball because of that? Or do you think, because like baseball, you know, mostly majority righties, but in softball, I'd imagine some people would like intentionally grow up playing lefty possibly. Do you see that sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, my high school coach tried to switch me left-handed just because I was fast, but I feel like at that point it was almost just a little bit too late, and I had enough power right-handed that we ended up just keeping me right-handed. So
Interesting. I think you get, both of you are bigger baseball fans than I am, but I'm pretty sure Ichiro tried that sometimes in the major leagues. I think he kind of had that stance where he would do that. So I don't think that would ever become a thing in major league just because the bases are so far away and the players' arms and mobility are so good in the field. Yeah. But
it's definitely harder. You might once and every now and then see somebody try it, but I don't think it'll ever be a popular concept in Major League Baseball. It's not realistic.
I agree, because the bases in softball are so much shorter that when you have that running start, it's so much more of an advantage.
Yeah, I think it's like it's like 25 feet shorter, 65 to 90, I think.
Well, it's 60.
It's 60? So 60, so it's like 25 to 30 feet. Wow.
30, yeah.
Wow.
90, 60, 30.
Is it required for pitchers to throw underhand?
We have Lindenwood education.
Yeah.
Yeah, where do you go, SLU?
Yeah, St. Louis University, yeah.
What do those speeds max out at? What's like a really good fastball in softball?
Like Jenny Finch or like what?
Yeah, like if the top, like professional softball players, what are they throwing?
I'm saying Jenny Finch probably throws like 77 miles per hour, probably right around
But
there.
the reaction time I've saw is shorter than an MLB pitch fastball.
Correct.
Unlike the average. Yeah.
Correct, because we're only 43 feet away.
Yeah. So that's crazy.
That's scary.
Because like you think of an MLB game, like if you're like first three rows of an MLB game, you're like, wow, how is this even possible? And then like to think that softball is even shorter time is just, I can't even like picture that. So that's
I know.
crazy.
I honestly I want to know like an MLB player like well enough to be like an MLB pitcher like well enough to be like, hey, like throw me some BP. Like I want to see if I can hit this. Like first of all, it's gonna take me a couple times just because like the angle of like the trajectory is gonna be different. But like I want to see like reaction time, like how fast it feels compared to like what I'm used to, which I think obviously it'll be faster. They're at a professional level, you know, when I was at Lindenwood. But so like, I mean, obviously like there's gonna be a difference there, but I feel like I could get some balls in play. Maybe not off of like a Aroldis Chapman or anything like that, but I don't know. I feel like just like an average pitcher where he's not throwing like his full heat. I want to like see if I can hit that. I don't know.
I can see
There
that.
we go. That sounds like a challenge. That sounds like a challenge. Jack Flaherty, if you're listening, Flaherty, throw some BP.
Flaherty's really good.
Professional baseball player versus professional softball player. There we go. I think you could definitely. Now. I think it would take. Well, it depends. Is it just straight fastballs? Because if the pitcher is like, okay, if the pitcher's like, you don't know what's coming, that's different. But if it's just fastballs, I think after like 5 or 6, you'd be able to get contact.
You get
like,
it down.
Oh, I agree. If they threw me a curveball, I would be on the ground crying. Like that's for sure. Like I would be.
Well, so would I. I mean, I was doing that in Little League.
Fastball, I'd be on the ground crying. Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, if they're throwing breaking balls at me, no way do I have a shot. But if they're just throwing fastballs, like I want to try and see if I can hit that, and I think I could. Like I think I have got a shot after, like, you know, like you said, like 5, 6, after seeing a couple, you know, maybe found some off. I feel like I could get some good contact.
I think the hardest part.
You definitely could.
Yeah, I think the hardest part for you would just be the size of the ball difference, where baseball's smaller to hit than the softball. That'd probably be the harder part rather than timing.
And if you have to use a wooden bat too, if you have to use a wooden bat, that'd be difficult too.
Yeah.
That scares me.
But given all that, if you've given time to practice with the wooden bat, if you've seen enough pitches, I feel like you definitely start making contact on some balls.
I think that would be fun.
I mean, for me to watch, it'd be fun. I don't know about. I'd be terrified standing in a batter's box with Jack Flaherty throwing a fastball down the middle.
Okay, well, Flaherty. I guess any Major League Baseball player is like a Major League Baseball player, but I mean, Flaherty is obviously.
But Flaherty's like really, really good. Yeah.
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 Garrett Cole, if you're out there, Garrett Cole.
Yeah, he's got nothing.
That's the difference. Is Adele's a big Yankees fan for our listeners out there. Adele's a huge Yankees fan, so that's where she's pulling from the Yankees players, and
I said Chapman and now
Jordan
I'm
Hicks.
Cole.
You said Chapman and now Cole, and I'm pulling from Flaherty and now Hicks. So we have a little bit of a different mindset there when we think of professional baseball players, but that's okay. It's totally fine.
Adele, what do you think about the restart? About do you think it's going to work? Do you think it might not work? What do you?
Our 60-game season?
Yeah.
I'm excited. I am hopeful. I am at this point. That's all I can be. Is just hopeful that we get a season. I get to see, live baseball. Hopefully, maybe even if it's on TV. I need to watch a game that I don't know the outcome of, or that I can't just look up. And that's important to me. And I can't wait for that to happen. I'm hopeful. I'm very, very hopeful. And I think that it will happen. And it's going to be crazy. Every game matters in normal time, but every game matters here. And it's just, it's going to be so fun. I hope it happens.
Yeah, I'm personally excited for the 60-game season. I obviously I like the regular 182 or whatever it is, but I think the 60 games is going to make it really every game is going to be exciting. You could miss a game on a normal season and not be a big deal. But I feel like every single game I'm going to want to watch every single, because it matters. Every game matters. I'm going to watch it. Just like football. Football, every Sunday I'm watching because I know that game matters. It's every single game for the season is going to make a huge impact on the final standing. So I'm pumped actually for that.
No, for sure. And I was thinking about before, if you're on the 10-day, I'm going to say DL, but it's the IL now, whatever. So if you're on the 10-day IL, it's not a big deal in the normal season. It's just they're on the 10-day, not the 40-day, whatever. But now it's oh my gosh, you're on the 10-day, DL/IL. That's
a great point.
A sixth of your season that you're off. That's a lot bigger deal. So it's going to be really interesting to see what team stays healthy the best. And that's really going to be key for a lot of teams, I think.
I've also actually seen a couple people talk about possibly I've seen the Cardinals probably talk about maybe going to a 4-man rotation. It'd be interesting to see if teams shorten their rotation a little bit early in the season because they have more pitchers they can use in the bullpen now. And it's interesting with a shortened season like this. Like we said, every game matters. You're going to want your best guys out on the mound as frequently as possible. So it's going to be interesting to see what teams, if strategy changes with this shortened season.
And with the NL having the DH now too, that's just going to change their whole game too. So I'm really interested to see how well that works and if it stays for next year. I don't know. We'll see.
So we will have an article coming out the day after this releases, this Friday after this interview comes out, kind of talking about the history of the DH and how it got started between the two leagues and all that stuff. So yeah, give us your opinion. I know you just said you're excited for it to see how it plays out, but do you think that's something you want to see moving forward for the NL?
I'm biased. Yeah, I'm biased because softball has it and I love it. So I'm biased in that aspect. I think that I'm excited for it. I also love the AL, how they handle it. So I think NL is old school. I think it's classy and I don't hate it. I think it's just the way the game is, kind of always been played, which is fine. It's not an issue, but it is one of the aspects that makes baseball unique in the fact that no other sport in divisions have different rules. In soccer, everybody does this. In football, everybody does this no matter what league you're in. But for baseball, it's one of the things that makes it different than any other sport. So it'll be interesting to see people's reactions if it doesn't go well this year, if they'll keep it the way it is or if they'll still adopt it. But I'm intrigued. Either way is fine with me. I love it. So I'm excited to see how it's going to play out this year. But it does lose part of the fact that it's one of the aspects that makes baseball unique. So
yeah, I'm obviously I'm biased as well. I think Michael would probably feel the same way because his team's also in the NL. But I like when pitchers hit it, it brings a different strategy to the game. I feel kind of when to pull a pitcher, when not to pull a pitcher. He's up next. Do we want to keep him because he's pitching well, or do you want to pull him so we can get try to start a rally here and just also since the way, baseball is Americans' pastime, and it's been that way since the original time. So I'm biased to having the pitcher hit. And I also think it's really cool when moments like Bartol Colon hits a home run. Like, that's sick to see. Like, when Adam Wainwright smashed one out of the park, it's awesome to see. Like, I enjoy those moments. But I agree. I think the NH or the DH it'll be interesting. It'll bring obviously more offense, I would imagine. I don't watch a lot of American League Baseball, so I don't know that for a fact. But I imagine it'll bring more offense too.
Yeah.
The league.
So I'm a Brewers fan. So fun fact here: Brandon Woodruff will be the last pitcher to hit a home run in a postseason game. So there you go. Go Brewers.
That'll be a trivia question in like 10 years if the DH sticks around.
And I can't wait to be on
remember that.
Jeopardy. I'll be on Jeopardy and I'll forget it, and I'll be like, "That's a good time." I actually,
and then I'll ask you who is.
I want real quick, Peter. I want the DL. I want the DL and the NL too. Like Adele said, because I understand the traditionalist view, but like as like younger generations grow up and stuff, like they're so action packed and like times are moving faster than baseball, especially right now. And like when the pitcher comes up, 9 times out of 10, it's like 5 pitches at most and a strikeout or a ground out most of the time. So like it's just like wasted time basically. That could be an exciting moment in the game that people are talking about the next day because of a huge highlight of somebody hitting a 3-run shot or something. So I think just for like the excitingness. Somebody help me out with that. What is that word?
Exciting?
Is there not a word for that?
Yeah.
There's got to be a word for that. Huh.
Well, the excitement? Isn't it just the excitement?
Yeah, that's it. For the excitement of the game. Thank you.
Yeah. There we go.
We should edit that out, but I don't think I'm edit that one out.
No, you have to keep it in.
Yeah, the excitement of the game needs a deal, I think, in the NL. Personally, especially when they already have it in the AL. It's not like you're just implementing something we've never tried before. Like we know in the AL it works, so might as well transfer over to the NL. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Some people are like, oh, it's going to like slow the game down. So like there's people that like are like, oh, it's going to slow the game down because it's like, oh, more hits. But then it's like, well, people want more hits. So like, what do you want? Like, it's just like there's like both sides to it. I can understand both sides, but I personally like it. Like what Michael was saying, most of the time pitcher is going to get out. And it's most of the time going to be a strikeout. Now, there are those great moments, like you were talking about, Peter, where, a pitcher does, do something really excited. But those are more often few and far in between that, to me, it's not as worth it. And, then you also don't get the pitchers, they might not get hurt as often either. Like if they're, they're not on the bases, potentially pulling something or getting hit by a ball either. So might keep them a little bit safer too.
I will never understand why one has the DL and one doesn't have the DL. Like
I don't know.
It's crazy. I keep saying DL.
DH.
Yeah, what am I doing?
I think I said it in MS. Yeah.
I think it's because like we were talking about the DL and IL earlier.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, DH, designated hitter. We know what we're talking about here.
Yes, we all know at least.
Look at how smart we are here. But yeah, I don't understand how one league can have it and one can't. It's like the same thing with like ballpark dimensions. I never understood that. How like every park has their own, yardage for home runs. And it's like, well, this could be like the most unfair home field advantage in the history of the world, but nobody talks about that. So that's interesting.
Kind of cool.
So Michael just gave me a great lead in. Again, check out the article that'll be coming out the day after this interview on why the league split on that. But I mean, yeah, it's definitely interesting. And it's basically just like, I mean, spoiler alert, I guess, to my article. But it's basically just like the leagues didn't agree, and the American League saw an attendance boost by implementing it, and they said, well, we're going to keep it regardless. And the National League said, okay, well then you guys keep it and we'll keep it our way. And it's been like that ever since. Like it was basically just like a mutual agreement. We like it. We don't. Okay. We'll go from there.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Still read it though. There's more good information on the history of it. So I didn't, you got to read it to find out the secret surprise ending. I don't know. Just please read it. Just check it out. Yeah. So Adele, I know I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things. Like, I know every April, and unfortunately not this April, but every April in St. Louis is like, it's like a holiday when opening day happens. And I know opening day at Busch Stadium is something that's unique around Major League Baseball, but also in almost all professional sports when the Clydesdales come out and go around the track and the Hall of Famers with the red jackets. So I wanted to talk to you about what was that like, that first opening day you experienced as an employee with the Cardinals? Sure.
So very first opening day was 2019, April. So last season, obviously not this season, we didn't have opening day, but last season, was my very first opening day that I've ever been to, either as an employee or a fan. Like you said earlier, I grew up a Yankees fan, so opening day, the Cardinals was not necessarily the biggest deal for me. But experiencing it for the first time last year was amazing. It was really cool. I've never been a part of anything like it. Like you said, everybody is just so excited, and Cardinals Nation is so big on opening day and the Clydesdales and tradition and how many like Hall of Famers we have coming out, and like those Corvette, like the cars that come around and everything. Like it's such a cool environment, and they do such a good job. Like the music just like hits you like in your heart. Like I don't even know what they're playing, but it just gets you. Like I'm just standing there and I'm like, this is cool. Like this is so cool. And then the Clydesdales comes out and everybody's just like pumped that the Clydesdales are out. And it's just like, yes, Busch Stadium, Busch beer, Busch Clydesdales. It's like, yes. And it's just so cool. And everybody's doing like the clap thing. And like everybody's in on it. Everybody's wearing red. Everybody's standing up, cheering, like clapping along. And like people are like singing along to the and like there's like no words. People are just singing the music. Like it was just so cool to like see and experience that. It was something that like I'll never forget. And I remember like running from like my job up to like the stadium so I could make sure that like I could be a part of it and I could see it, and it like all happened, and it was so cool, and I'll never forget it. And I'm so excited. Like I was so excited for this opening day because I was potentially going to be like down near the Clydesdales working, and I was so excited. And then obviously COVID. So, I mean, we'll see next opening day. I feel like that won't change. Like there's some things that just don't change, like going out onto the field for the first time, like you never forget that. Or like when you bring somebody on the field for the first time, like those moments like stick with those people. And that's one of my favorite parts about my job, is bringing somebody on the field for the first time and seeing like their face kind of like light up, especially if they're a little kid. But like that's something that I won't forget, is my first opening day. And I feel like a lot of Cardinals Nation people will be able to tell you exactly where they were, how they felt, and like describe that same experience for like their first opening day too. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's funny that you say the music and like I hear the music playing in my head. I don't know what the song's called. I don't know what it is, but like as soon as you said you hear the music, and I hear it in my head when the Hall of Famers are coming out in the red jackets, and you're seeing like these legends take the field, and that music's playing, and honestly, if you're a big Cardinals fan, it could get you emotional.
It just hits you.
It hits you. It hits you.
What's interesting
It's
about
an incredible opening day.
Yeah, what's interesting about that though is this is coming from a Yankees fan, right?
I know.
Like, and I'm not saying like you don't like the Cardinals or anything like that, but like imagine a diehard Cardinals fan seeing it for the first time. And, like,
I know. And honestly, like I'd say that Cardinals are my second favorite team. Like they used to probably not be, just because they were just like, like I didn't grow up here. So like, you know, but they've definitely become my second favorite team working for them. And that was definitely a moment that like inspired that to like become and like grow into what it is. So yeah, I can't, like if that was like the Yankees to me, like, and then experiencing that like Cardinals wise, like it would mean like the world to me, like even more so. So I agree.
Yeah, because even for me, like I'm a Brewers fan, which is like their rivals, and I had, you know, a little bit of goosebumps going that day as well when, you know, the Clydesdales come out. I'm like, oh, all right, this is kind of cool. But I'm not gonna say it out loud because, you know, Brewers, but like no, it's actually it is really cool. So
hey, we have a mutual disdain of the Cubs, so we can bond on that. You know,
yeah.
Brewers and Cubs, or Brewers and Cardinals.
Would you say like Yelich is like your doppelganger? Like, is that who you would say? Like,
people have told me that. Yeah, no, it's actually weird. Like I've gotten that from a couple of people, and then some other people have said, "Who's the bat? No, not Batman.
Batman."
Not Batman. I forgot who it was. I don't watch like those movies, but like they're like, "Oh, you look like this guy," and I'm like, "Okay." I don't know who it is, but okay.
You kind of look like Yelich. You got
no, people say that.
Tall, like skinny.
Yeah.
You kind of got the same.
Whenever if I'm like at a bar or something, like people are super like, "Oh my God, Christian Yelich is here." I like try to play it off, but then like I'm not, so like it's very difficult. But no, yeah, I kind of get that sometimes.
I can truly say I've never thought that before until she said it. Now it's like all I can see. Like every time I see you now, I'm only gonna see Yelich. I never thought that, but now I'll never be able to get that out of my mind.
I don't know. He just said Brewers, and I was just like, "Oh, Christian Yelich," and I was like, "Ah, he kind of looks like him."
Yeah, I don't know. I have gotten that before, but not as cool as him.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously just being both our alma maters, I wanted to kind of ask you, what was your favorite memory? Lindenwood, kind of off the softball field, and we talked about kind of softball earlier. So just what was your favorite memory at Lindenwood period? Do you have one that sticks out to you?
This is going to sound kind of crazy to people who didn't go to Lindenwood, but one of my favorite memories and just kind of like areas at Lindenwood was actually our off/on campus house that we had. So first was 312 Karen, live, rest in peace. But
What do you mean rest in peace? They get
I
demolished?
don't know, I'm just not there. Like,
No, but they soon will be demolished. Actually, they're tearing those down. But that's a whole
Really?
different story for another day.
That's great.
Yeah,
Well, how
because
did
they're
that
building those new
just
apartments.
Oh
How
my
did-
God,
They're selling them
no.
off or something like that. Yeah.
That's so sad. Okay, moving on. Sorry. So 312 Karen, love it. That house, like just the houses, like you actually get to live in just these like rinky-dink old houses that are in like this whole neighborhood. So imagine just a neighborhood just filled with just college students, and it's just so fun. Like it's just so fun, and it's something that like I'll never experience again, but it was just such a blast to like hang out with. And like, I mean, you could just run up and down the streets like screaming and like, my roommate did it. We dared it, one time. She's a Cubs fan, so when the Cubs won the World Series, like, I mean, just, screaming, running up. Like, my favorite memories of Lindenwood are honestly like in our off-campus like housing areas, but like they're technically on campus because Lindenwood owns them. So like with student athlete, you had to live on campus, but since those were on campus, like you got to live in them and still, like your scholarship didn't like waive or anything like that. So I love those houses, and they are rinky dink and they are old and they're kind of gross, but they're so much fun, and you bond with like your roommates over it, and it's really fun. I love them, and the pipes burst, and then you've got your basement flooded, and that's
Yeah,
a
I
whole
love
other
that.
experience. But
Yeah, that's the best.
it's
They really
fun.
are great though, because you have a kitchen in there. You can like essentially cook if you want to. Like it's super nice. And yeah, like so she kind of is explaining it just for people who didn't go to Lindenwood. It's like when you sign up for your housing, just like you sign up for a dorm, you have the option to like sign up for these like houses with roommates that are like 5 minutes from campus, if that. And like it's like living in a dorm, or that's how it would be. Like you pay your room and board to live in these houses, but it's slightly off campus. But it's not like I know a lot of universities like you live off campus, like you rent an apartment or get a house like that's not provided by the university. But these houses are provided by Lindenwood. But they're really fun. I know most of the time, like when you get to junior, senior year, when you get in that like house, it's like a big milestone at Lindenwood. Like you're out of the dorms, you're out of like living, like sleeping 5 feet from your roommate. Like you finally get your own room. Like it's really, really nice.
Yeah, it's definitely a big deal. And 312 Karen was literally like right down the road from the softball field. So like I didn't even have to like drive to practice if I didn't want to. Like I could just like walk down the road. So like when he says like it's like off campus, but it's not, like it's literally like I could walk to like the softball field, which is on campus. So like it's right there, and it's so much fun.
So this is getting a little bit niche for Lindenwood students. So sorry for the people who didn't go to Lindenwood and listen to this podcast. But what was your go-to at Spelman? Did you get Qdoba, Chick-fil-A?
Oh, Chick-fil-A all day, every day. Chick-fil-A was the go-to. It got so bad that I had to limit myself to getting it once a week unless I got their salad, was like my like skip out. So like I could still get Chick-fil-A more than once a week as long as I got their salad.
A little work around it.
Yeah.
A little
So
workaround.
you had like
I was
6 salads a
Qdoba,
week.
but yeah.
Yeah,
You had like 6 or 7.
See, but then it was good for
Every
me
meal.
without eating salad.
Like, oh, it's just a salad. I'm good.
That's
But yeah,
fun.
love the Chick-fil-A. Qdoba was good too, but Chick-fil-A, miss it.
All right, Adele,
Yeah,
last
I know, I'm
question.
sad.
Yeah. Last question. I'm going to get away from Lindenwood here so that I can contribute to a conversation.
Sorry.
No, I'm kidding.
Sorry.
No, it was great. Free press for Lindenwood, so they should pay us for that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, LU.
Yeah. What is one piece of advice you'd
Like
give?
no other.
What's one piece of advice you'd give to somebody, or like what's the motto that you live by, or something that's inspired you throughout your life that's helped you?
I would say I know this is so cliche, but just to like be yourself and just have fun, like do what you're passionate about. And because like if you're doing something that you're passionate about, then you won't hate your life every day. And so that's something that, I changed my major in college like a lot of people probably would do. And so I didn't even know sports management was a thing until I went to Lindenwood and I was flipping through our catalog, just depressed little freshmen not knowing what they want to do for the rest of their life. But I mean, it can change so fast, and like I love sports and I love baseball and I love softball so much, and like it's something that I'm so just passionate about, and that working for the Cardinals, like I call it my big girl job, but like am I really like working? Like kind of, but like I get to go to a ball field every day, normally, not COVID, but
Right.
like I get to go to a ball field every day, and I get to call Busch Stadium like my office. I think that's so cool, where some other people might not, but other people might be into like marine biology, but just do what you love and what you're passionate about, because then you'll be happy. And that's kind of what I try to do and surround myself with, and just do things that I love.
I love that. One thing that just going off of that, because like my motto basically that, but it's like it's your journey, not theirs. And like if people are going to judge you along the way, like let them be, because it's it's your life, not theirs. They can live their life how they want, and then you live it like yours. So yeah, I love that. You made me you gave me a reminder here of you. I saw on your LinkedIn you have a minor in coaching, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Is that something you want to pursue sometime?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I picked up that minor because I had some extra classes to fill, and I was like, oh, I should get a minor in something. What should I do? And again, flip through the catalog. It was like, what do I want to do in my life type of thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, coaching's a minor. How freaking cool. And so I decided, I was like, yeah, like I feel like I'll definitely like coach my kids one day, and like honestly, like if I could get like, say the Cardinals didn't necessarily work out, I kind of wanted like a backup plan, and that backup plan was to potentially do like a GA position, become a softball coach for like a college, maybe go like an athletic director route. Just again, staying in that sports industry though is really big for me, and it's important to me. So that was kind of like a backup plan to me, minus the whole pro ballers, E1 pro ballers thing. But and it actually led me to my favorite class, sports psychology, which shout out Paul Wright. Awesome dude at Lindenwood as well.
Yeah,
He's him and Molly. They're my favorite people from Lindenwood. Like Paul Wright's the goat.
Peter, not even the top two.
Sorry.
In her defense, she didn't know me when we went to Lindenwood. We met after she graduated. So
yeah. So I mean, it led me to my favorite class and one of my favorite people in the whole world, Paul Wright. So it was awesome. I highly recommend coaching minor. So much fun. And it's something that like, it involves like life lessons as well. Cause you want to learn like life lessons when you're coaching that like you can transition into like your everyday life too.
I can't wait for like your kids to be in softball or baseball. Then they're like, all right, which parent wants to be like the coach? And like this dad goes, oh, I'll do it. And then Adele just strolls over like, oh, I'm sorry, sir. Do you have a minor in coaching? Cause I do.
I was going to say the most qualified Little League coach of all time will go to Adele Linderman when she coaches her kids.
I know. I hope my kids end up playing sports. If they don't play sports, I might cry.
I think we're all in the same boat on that one.
Yeah.
So it is. Well, Adele, thank you so much for being on. You were a great first guest, setting the bar super, super high for whoever's next. So yeah, we just really want to thank you, and you were great.
Thanks for having me. I had so much fun with you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Adele. It's always great to talk to you. Thanks again for coming on the show, and hope to talk to you soon.
Of course.
Thank you all for listening to episode number 2 of our Odd Sports Topics podcast. PJ and I would like to thank Adele Linderman again one more time for being our first guest on our show. We hope you all enjoyed our second show with our first guest. If you did like it, please go ahead and hit the like button below and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube. And make sure to go check out our articles on oddsportstopics.com. Our last article explains the history behind the Washington Redskins name. And PJ will be releasing an article tomorrow about the designated hitter in both the National League and the American League. So from PJ and myself, we thank you for listening. Good night.